Okay, we are streaming live on YouTube. Okay, I have the pleasure of introducing you to the wonderful, amazing, magnificent Cheryl Brewster. Today, I have been lucky enough to be one of her students in her intuitive mastermind over the last several months. And Cheryl is a delight. She is so just full of joy and energy, and she just really helps draw out your intuition. I've learned so much from her, and I can't say enough good things about her. Her program is fantastic. If you are thinking about using your intuition and in wanting to use that in your business, I would highly recommend taking Cheryl's course. So Cheryl is the upcoming author of a new book, Limitless, and I am so excited to introduce you to her today. So there you go. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you, Michelle. And I thought I'd try something a little bit different today. I'm asking for your help. I recognize that each one of us has a gift to share with the world. And one of the gifts that's upcoming for all of us here is leadership. Given COVID, given everything that's happening in the world, there's a real responsibility for each one of us to truly present and live from this place of passion inside of us. But it's not always easy in the midst of transition and change. So I'd like to share my story with you. Recently, I had a dream. And in that dream, a dear friend of mine, Carolyn, from the Grand Connections Network that you all know, asked me in that dream a very, very important question from our very own Terry Lee Harrison of the Team Referral Network. The question was, Cheryl, what's your big ask? And my answer was, I want to live my life full out and be of service to the world, helping people build their businesses from a place of passion and joy. I'm here to tell you today that as much as I talk about joy, there was a time in my life that was not very joyful at all. And I'd like to share that story with you. Imagine a mother's gut-wrenching fear as she watches her son's deep dive into psychosis. It's June 2010, just a few days short of my son's 21st birthday, and right in front of my very eyes, I see my son slip away from me. Neither of us are aware that in my son's brain, a forest fire is raging, ravaging his neuron pathways. To make matters worse, on admittance to the ER, he experiences an allergic reaction to a sedative. This tall, gentle giant of a young man cannot hold his head up, he cannot close his mouth, he's drooling, and he cannot speak or make eye contact. For 2 weeks, I come every day to the hospital, hoping that my son will be better, but he remains in a catatonic state. Fast forward 10 years later this year, and I am in awe of what I call the nuclear power of opposites. I continue my apprenticeship in harnessing its ferocious energy. I have learned not to judge devastation, but instead to find the hidden miracle within it. I believe in post-traumatic growth. I believe that learned helplessness can be transformed to learned optimism. I believe that our spirituality is the life-saving force that functions for us when we can't. Intention, prayer, and faith work. Their only requirement is practice. And here's why. On the next occasion of admitting my son to the ER, I feel myself falling into that dangerously familiar pit of dread and despair. With my son in another room and my heart there with him, my phone rings. And it's a client who is going through a very, very traumatic health crisis of her own. I take the call because of two reasons. Number one, I know I can help her because I know that inside of her, there is this place of peace that is beyond any fear that she has. How do I know that? Because I also have that place inside me. And I recognized in that moment I was choosing not to use it because as a mom, I just wanted to fall apart. But as a coach, I knew that this woman going through crisis needed my help. So I walked her through, helped her use the tools, find the tools within herself to be able to come back to a place of calm and acceptance. The flash insight that I had in that moment was that I had a responsibility to live from this deeper part of myself that was always available, but I had to make a choice. From that moment on, I recognized the power of intention and that there are times we forget to use it. When we get scared, when things happen, when events outside of our control appear. So over a 10-year period, I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. I experimented. I found that the more I practiced and let myself fail and pick myself back up again, the better I got. And I wanted to talk to you today from the heart. I could have prepared a PowerPoint. I wanted to prepare a PowerPoint. But I also recognize that there is a very, very deep, deep place inside of me that needs to tell this story more frequently. When we can take terror and find its opposite, I believe that in that moment, we are living our fullest potential. And I believe that in a time of COVID, where there is so much devastation happening in the world, that we each have a responsibility in our own lives to find that place in us where perhaps we're holding back, or perhaps we're maybe allowing the saboteur in us to get in the way a bit too much. From my experience, what I found is that in welcoming whatever's going on, in not judging that saboteur, in not judging that things take longer than they should be, that there is far more energy and far more creativity that takes place. And so in the intuitive masterminds that I teach, what I really encourage the participants is to go deep. Let's go into that place inside of you that's just itching to come out, that place of innovation, that place of creativity, but also that place that you might be slightly afraid of. And one of my favorite quotes is Erica Young, who says, "You must go into the dark place where your talent leads you." So that dark place for me is stretching out more into leadership. That dark place in me is the one who says, yes, you have the gifts and the abilities, and all we're asking you to do is listen. That dark place in you represents your intuition that says, think bigger, stretch more. My encouragement and my invitation to you today, will you join me in being the woman that does change the world, because you're the woman that is changing your own world? So as we ask ourselves these deep questions and we come up with these answers, I wanted to say that with those answers is a call to joy that can overcome any challenge. I know my son and I have lived it and we've proved it. I shared this story with my son before I shared it with you. His journey continues to be a demonstration of profound hope, inspiration, and courage. He has limitations, but he's chosen to be happy. The invitation I put out to you here today is that as we are all called to deeper forms of leadership, I am humbled that I've arrived at a place in my life where I can echo Albert Camus' declaration that in the midst of fear, I found that there was within me an invincible smile. In the midst of winter, there was within me an invincible summer. To conclude my talk today, and a part of a very personal part of my business, my conclusion and what I teach my clients and encourage them to do is that no matter what has happened in your life, there is a profound joy that can embrace and hold any trauma. The joy might get a little dented And it might feel a little, but joy surpasses all. JOY. Just open yourself to the power inside, to the creativity of waiting to emerge so that no matter what's going on, you have the energy, the message, and the creativity to take your stand for what inspires you and do it in your business for more success, more fun, more ease, with a really, really important story to tell. So, what is your big ask? Mine is join me, do what you do best. Let's be the leaders and change makers in our world.